What is poppin', everyone? How are you doing? Welcome back to another Car Talk. Today's episode is mostly going to be focused around spin-offs, I guess. You know, some games I think it would be cool to have a cool spin-off. I think to start, we're gonna start off with a game that you guys have probably heard of. I've definitely talked about it on the channel before. The Division. Now hear me out, right? Because what made me fall in love with the franchise is how cool the idea of the IP was. I believe I've explained that before. Now, the way the game currently is, it's currently like a looter shooter, open world, RPG. There's a bunch of different titles for it. Tactical shooter. It's a looter shooter, basically. But I feel like that they could do a lot more with the franchise than just make it a looter shooter. I mean, one, I don't really agree that it should be a looter shooter, personally. I feel like it doesn't match the serious tone or the serious setting of the game. Because it's weird, right? It's placed in this very serious setting, and then you play the game, and the game feels very gamey. Not sort of arcadey, but it's very gamey, you know? The HUD is very prominent, and you see numbers and health bars and all that. We're getting off topic. I'm gonna go more in depth on my thoughts on how they could improve the Division in a different video way down the line. But I do feel like that the game itself, there's some cool spin-offs that I think that they could do. But I think that the Division, there's a few cool spin-offs that they could do. One, I do think they should do a very story-focused, like single player, or not even single player, maybe 4-player co-op, story, right? Or maybe single player. I think it'll probably be better to be a single player one. But they could do a single player story mode spin-off where, let's say, you play as one of the first wave agents, and you get to see, you know, what happened, essentially. The GTF pulling out, of leaving the first wave behind, you trying to save civilians, get everything under control. That would be a cool story. Maybe the story can end with the agent becoming rogue, or you get a choice at the end whether or not you become rogue or you become not rogue. That would be pretty cool. You could do something like that. I'm just kind of spitballing here, or if you guys remember from the first game where you had to find what happened to missing agents, 9 times out of 10 they were dead. But it would be cool if they wanted to do a spin-off of where you played as one of those missing groups. I can't think of any off the top of my head, like what the specific name of some of the squads were, but it would be cool if there was a story behind one of those squads. You get to see them in action, right? You could do it if they want to. They could take it to how different countries. Well, not really, because the Division is very American focused. So sending it to different countries wouldn't really make too much sense as a spinoff. Could be. They could do that. Maybe you go maybe your Division agent has to go to a different country, or is trying to flee. I don't know. But those would be some cool ideas. I think they could do a lot of spin-offs with that franchise, because it is a very, very interesting franchise. They could do a lot. As far as where they want to take that game to. Ubisoft, I think, was really sleeping on that whole IP to begin with, you know, Ubisoft, man, dude, they're it's frustrating because some of my favorite games are Ubisoft made, but man, have they like butchered a lot of the games that I liked. Some other spin-offs, I think, and this might be a hot take. I don't know if a lot of people agree with me. Personally, I think they should do the Atreus spin-off for God of War, because I mean, it'll be nice. It'll be kind of like what they did with Miles Morales for Spider-Man. You know what I mean? Before they gave him his own little story. Doesn't have to be a big game. Small game. Atreus goes on a little adventure without Kratos, and see where that leads him. See what they could do with that. I don't really have any plot ideas as far as what they should do with that. They're the experts. I'll let them handle that. But I do agree that they should do a Atreus spin-off. You know, now I think in that universe he's like 14-ish years old. Maybe they do the spin-off. He's been on his own for a few years, right? Now he's older. Now he's getting close to like 18, 19. Whatever it is, the equivalent in God years. Well, I guess for Atreus would be demigod years, because he's not full god. Anyways. What's some other games I think we should do this about? Also, another hot take. I personally liked the newer God War games over the older ones. I know there's some people that like the older ones more, which I can see where they're coming from. But I personally think the newer games, well, one, I feel like they have a lot more depth. And that you could just tell. And I honestly like the combat more in that third-person form than the way it was before. Which I don't really know the angle on, because it's bird's eye-ish. It was more dynamic. It was a dynamic sort of bird's eye camera. Because there would be some fights if you're in a big arena where you would be in a bird's eye view, but then there would be other times that you were more lower down to the character. So I don't really know how to describe it besides a dynamic bird's eye view. I don't know. Oh, for a Division plotline, they could do some of the rogue characters' stories. There's so many different stories that they could do. If they want to keep it nostalgic, and I guess they could do a story behind Vivian Conley, behind Javier, behind Dragunov, I think his name is, in Warlords of New York, the Division agent that was captured by, well, not captured, but that led the Rikers and overtook them. It would be cool to do a story behind those. Maybe, and it would give the different factions some more story behind it, more personality behind it. Makes you feel for the other factions where, okay, you know, I can understand where they're coming from. Really, the only one I can get behind is the Cleaners. I mean, the Rikers is just kind of a big gang of criminals where they just want to cause chaos. But it would be cool to give those characters some personality. As far as with those, would that then mean we would have to fight the JTF? I would say so, yeah. Because if you think about it, let's say in the story, you're a first wave agent. You just got left behind. If your agent, let's say they goes rogue, well, you're now an enemy. You gotta fight back, and now you're pissed off at the JTF. They just left you behind to die. So these characters now have a grudge against and a hatred towards the JTF. So yeah, I feel like, yeah, we would kill the JTF. They should do that. They should. Why wouldn't they? But yeah, that's. There's one more that I think Days Gone 2 should get a sequel. Not so much a spin-off. I don't really know what spin-off they would do for Days Gone. Should have wrote this stuff down before I started this card talk. Ghost Recon. They could do some spin-offs with that, some small games, some small single-player games. Give more of a future soldier kind of background, or not back, kind of game. A future soldier kind of game where you're just going level by level, being a cool Spec Ops guy, you know. Instead of they can still do the open world, but I'm saying do both. You know, I feel like a lot of times you don't have to lean towards. It's not just one or nothing. You could do both. They're called spin-offs. If you do a spin-off, it's a little bit of a shorter game. It's more of a bite-sized game before the actual mainline title comes out. You know, again, this is Miles. I'm gonna bring up Miles Morales a lot because it was a great little bite-sized spin-off title to give Miles some story before they did the mainline title. I mean, they've done this with Far Cry 1,000 times, but I don't really count those as good spin-offs. I mean, they were spin-offs, don't get me wrong. They just weren't that great. As far as, like, I didn't like Far Cry Primal, you know what I mean? Or Far Cry New Dawn. Wasn't big fans of those spin-off titles. They were just a little on the boring side. As far as Primal goes, I mean, it didn't make much sense, that game. I mean, yeah, I get you're a caveman, but then they did this hunter vision where it just didn't make much sense. You get like thermal goggles in your eyes. Like what? Where you could track, where you have all the enemies are highlighted, all the tracking on animals is seen. Which, don't get me wrong, Days Gone did basically the same thing. It just didn't outline enemies, and Red Dead also did kind of a vision sort of thing. It just didn't make much sense to be a toggle on something you could just toggle on when you're playing the game. It should just be something that's only gets turned on when you're tracking an animal. You know, like how in Days Gone did it. Because otherwise, it just doesn't make much sense. But they should do more spin-off sort of spin-off lengths as much as those. Like just small games where, you know, highly quality that are cool and give the world some more depth. Give these characters some more story behind it, you know? What other games? I would say Batman, but after the debacle of Gotham Knights, I don't know if they should continue making Batman games anymore. I'll be honest. We probably should just stop at Arkham Knight, unfortunately. Unless they're really gonna go all in on the next title. But man, was Gotham Knights garbage. It became free on PlayStation, and I still didn't even want it. Dude, I wasted my money on Avengers when that came out. Shit was so ass. I pre-ordered that game too. That game what made me officially stop pre-ordering games. Because that was terrible. That was straight awful. Oh man. After that game, then Suicide Squad came out, and I was not interested. I wasn't interested in that weak looter genre that they turned the game into. I don't know what they were doing. I'm off topic again. We're gonna make a part 2 to the spin-off video. But that's about it for this ramble that I basically did. We're gonna do another one with a surprise guest. But I'll see you guys in the next one.